I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This is honestly something that I think I've I started to realize it when I was like 15. When I was 15, I started to realize it, and now I'm 17. As I've gotten older, I've just started to realize it more and more. Life is pointless. Life, and there's so many philosophies, there's so many perspectives, there's so many situations, but life is honestly pointless. Like, at the place where I'm at right now, I have been trying to get a job, and so far I haven't gotten hired. And I know I can get hired, and I know I just need to keep trying. But this whole thing just feels so weird to me. Like, at 17, I have the I at 17, I am very emotionally mature for my age. Okay, when it comes to my maturity, at 17, I am more emotionally mature than a lot of kids my age. I have a lot more knowledge than a lot of kids my age. But besides emotional maturity, and besides head knowledge maturity, when it comes to every other aspect of life, I'm still at the maturity level of a 15-year-old, and I'm 17. I don't have that experience, and it just feels so daunting, because I've been a late bloomer on everything, to be honest, but it just feels so daunting to have the head knowledge, like, to have a lot of the head knowledge that a lot of kids my age don't have, and to have the emotional maturity that a lot of kids my age don't have, but to still feel like I'm 15. You know what I mean? To be 17, be very emotionally mature, have a lot of head knowledge, but to still feel like I'm 15. And honestly, mainly it's my fault that I still, in every other aspect, have the maturity of a 15-year-old. It's my fault, because I didn't listen to God. I just messed around. I just sat there in depression and anxiety, and it's my fault that I am where I'm at, you know? I didn't get good grades in school, in high school. I could have. I am so smart. But my depression and my anxiety was one of the things that did not help. But I also just procrastinated, did stuff that I wasn't supposed to, and I was just indifferent to it all. I was still trying to be a Christian. I was still a lukewarm Christian, but I was just so indifferent to it all that I just procrastinated. I just didn't care about my grades, and now I wish I did. But it wouldn't even matter anyway, because college is so expensive. Everything is so expensive. And I mean, most kids are actually living with their parents. Like, Gen Z is one of the generations that the most amount of people live with their parents until they're like 25, because everything is so expensive. So it's like, and I need to get a job. I need to get a job. And this is my last summer as a minor, and I really feel like I'm doing nothing, because I don't have a job. I'm not going to get too detailed, but basically, I have 2 friends left. one friend is not in the area that I live, and he's not going to be in the area that I live until the summer is almost over. My other friend has a job, and he's working a lot, so I barely get to see him. And I was like, okay, that's going to be fine, because I'm going to have a job. Well, I don't have a job yet. And it just... And I know it's not my fault that I haven't gotten hired. It's just, I don't know. The thing that I have been realizing is the physical realm. Okay. Gen Z, I feel like more and more as we go on, as we get further and further into the future, as the world gets more and more godless and more materialistic, people start to realize that just living in the physical world without the spiritual world is pointless. Like, you take away God, and I know people are going to disagree with me, but you take away God, you take away the supernatural realm, and you just leave the materialistic, physical realm of this earth. There is no point to existing. And that is why I fell into a nihilistic depression when I denied Jesus and almost left this world. I don't want to say it on YouTube. You know, they put a lot of restrictions on here. But it's like, and, you know, people are going to disagree, and they're going to give all these points. Really? So, from a materialistic, hedonistic, atheistic perspective, what's the point? Oh, we evolved morals, you know, so we're just supposed to live a good moral life. So? Oh, so the human race can continue. Why does that matter? Oh, well, you see, you need to live a moral life to help the human race continue. You know, you need to find a partner, you need to have kids, you need to live a moral life. All of that was evolved into us to help the human race continue. But why? Why does the human race even exist? Why does it even need to continue? Oh, you know, so we can keep having sex, keep doing drugs, keep drinking alcohol, you know, getting drunk every night, you know, so we can have fun. That's fun. Oh, so we can, you know, learn valuable lessons about compassion, and it's like, okay, then what? Like, not everyone's gonna agree with me. Especially nowadays with how crazy the world is and how the governments are so corrupt and people are just suffering more than ever. I honestly believe, because you go back to like the Old Testament times, there was more human suffering in the sense of physical suffering, but at least that didn't last long. At least people died. At least they died. But we live in a world where there is so much suffering, and I honestly believe the modern world we live in has the most suffering than any other time in humanity. And what I mean by suffering is general suffering. I don't mean just physical suffering, because then, yes, of course, we wouldn't be the time where the most physical suffering is happening. But we are living in a time where the most overall suffering is happening because it's more than just physical, it's mental. We are living in a time where, honestly, I don't think, again, you can be healthy, you can be, you know, looking good for your age, and that's fine, you know, keep living for Christ, you know. But I don't believe, obviously it was different before the flood, but ever since, the flood happened and God shortened humanity's lifespan, I don't believe we're meant on this earth to live past, 60. Because what's the point? I'm retired now. You're just gonna walk around and slowly deteriorate and just do nothing. That's another problem I have with the evolution stance of, the origin of life, because nihilistically, not everyone that's an atheist agrees with social Darwinism. But really, if you were a nihilist who believed in social Darwinism, there's no need for the elderly, because they're old. They're dying. It's over. So, personally, again, you look good for your age. You're still getting around. I am not an advocate of social Darwinism or any of that stuff. Keep living for Christ. But I'm saying, we're living in a society that is forcing us to live until we're 80-something. You get to take all this medicine, you get to live a long life, And I get a lot of people would disagree with me. I get, it just, without the supernatural, without God, it just feels so empty. You get what I'm saying? There really is no inherent point, even with hedonism, even with agnostic naturalism. Yes, there is a technical point, living a better, more quality life, being compassionate, having good morals. But outside of that, you'll really fall into nihilism. Because then that begs the question, why? Why anything? And guess what? Oh, they don't have the answer. Or, oh, all religions lead to heaven. Or, oh, we don't know. That's the entire agnostic stance. We don't know. And that is not... It's satisfying for some humans. I can't even say that. I believe even the people out there that just drink and party every night and act like NPCs, and they never think about philosophy or religion or why they're here, all they're doing is distracting themselves. If they sat in a room, that's why so many people come to God through trauma, through pain. If they sat in a room and they genuinely thought about why, they would start thinking about what if there's a God, what if there's the supernatural. And that's why so many of those NPC people that just distract themselves, they just have sex, they just drink, they just smoke, and they just party, and they just constantly scroll on social media. All those NPC people that just distract themselves from reality, that's why so many of those people come to Christ when they go through trauma and when they go through hard times, because then they're forced to look into the abyss and be like, why? Why is this happening to me? There has to be something more. And I think when we're really young, we don't really think about that, But as I've gotten older, the more I've thought about it, it's there has to be something more. And it's I believe we are living in a time of the most amount of suffering, overall suffering, not just physical, but in every aspect. Supernatural, definitely, spiritual suffering, mental suffering, I can't say physical, but overall suffering. Physical, mental, spiritual. We're living in the worst time of humanity, of the overall suffering, and that's biblical. Times are just going to get worse. So, spiritual, we definitely see that we're living in a time of the most amount of spiritual suffering since the days of Noah. And we definitely see that we're living in a time of the most amount of mental suffering, because it's not just, the boomers who are like, oh, you have it easy. Oh, you're not living in the 1700s and having to fight in the Revolutionary War and getting stabbed to death by a bayonet or whatever. You're not a slave in ancient Rome. And it's yeah, but we are the only generation that is stuck inside all the time, that is just shoved stuff on social media down our throats, and that just, we have so much knowledge about the evil of this world, and we just, everything is stripped bare. The more, like I say, the more materialistic, the more atheistic, the more hedonistic the world gets, the more people start to realize, the more the facade of this world breaks, and the more people start to realize there's no point. There's no point. And that realization has been happening for centuries, but it's only been getting more and more clear. There is no point without God. There is no point without the supernatural. No point. I mean, I don't want to be an adult. I want God to come back today. There's always going to be a human side of you that's like, oh, I kind of want to live. I kind of want to experience this. I kind of want to get married. I kind of want to, have sex. I kind of want to experience stuff, I kind of want to experience being this age or experience doing that. But at the end of the day, especially if you're a Christian, there's that primal sense of just, I don't care. I just want God to come back, because we know there's something more. There has to be something more. Paul even says, if our faith is not real, then you can call us fools. You can call us fools, because if Christianity isn't true, then there's no point. In my opinion. God bless you all. Turn to Christ.